What is up, CineNerds? You got JP over here and myself. The new nickname the wife has given me, Lumber Snack. Reporting in.
Lumber Snack. I saw that.
It's a little too much for me, but whatever. What I find hilarious about it is that other people have that weren't commenting or even liked the post now are saying this to me in person and through other posts. So it's a anyways, we're talking without James today about Star Wars The Acolyte in the first two episodes. Yes. And reason we didn't bring James is because, honestly, we didn't want to bore him to death here because he wouldn't have been able to talk.
He wouldn't have watched it, and, we don't want to make him dive into something Star Wars, like this. And he's never watched a Star Wars film, so there's no point in having James in this conversation.
I mean, yeah, he would have just been like, fucking sucked. So,
like, what's a Wookiee monster?
Yeah. So we're going to really geek out here. But here's the thing. We're going to do a little portion first. By the way, JP and I have not discussed our thoughts on this at all yet. As hard as it was, I wanted to ask him right through the door. Didn't say a word because I want natural, legit reactions here. We're going to have a 3-part series with this. So since only the first 2 episodes are out so far, we're just going to be talking about these first 2 episodes. We'll cover the middle 4. And then the last 2 for part 3 to wrap it all up, right? Is that what the goal is?
Yeah, that's the goal. And actually, I've got a schedule. It'll be on the flyer. Tentatively, these episodes will run. Part 1 will be Thursday, June 13th, which is this episode, which you are listening to. Part 2, I've got tentatively scheduled for July 4th. It may be the week after, but tentatively I've got it scheduled for July 4th.
Okay.
Because that'll be the week that I'm back from tour.
Okay.
Final episode, the part 3 of this, I've got scheduled for August 1st.
And to keep things simple, so we can keep things moving based on JP's touring schedule, we're just doing audio on these. These ones are just going to be audio ones, so our apologies for those of you who love looking at our wonderful, ugly mugs, but just got to hear our soothing voices.
It's just, I'm going to be gone so much coming up that it takes a lot of extra steps to do the video with the podcast. So our video viewers, that's the only reason. And with my touring schedule and doing these special extra stuff, and then the regular CineNerds stuff, it's just going to make it easier. That some of these episodes may be audio only, but we'll still be doing the YouTube premieres like normal, even if it is audio only. So bear with me with my next 3-month touring schedule that's coming up, because I am pretty much on the road nonstop for the next 3 months.
Which is a good thing.
Yeah.
It's not a problem. Not a bad problem to have. But without any further ado, let's get into the non-spoiler portion of this, reviewing episodes 1 and 2 of Star Wars The Acolyte. I'm going to let JP start this one off.
So, first impressions. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and make a lot of people mad. And I'm going to dive backwards a little bit. Backwards to what Disney has done with the Disney Plus series in general. So, and give you a quick rundown of my opinions, and it'll line up with where I'm going with Acolyte.
Fair.
So, Mandalorian. It's a good series. Okay series. I'm not a big fan of the format of it. It feels like a 1950s kind of Western serial. But it's a great... The thing I love about The Mandalorian is the Mandalorian stuff. I think they should have let Grogu go after the first season and never brought him back and focused on Bo-Katan and more of the Mandalorian stuff instead of the Baby Yoda stuff. And that's where it nosedived for me. But it's still an okay series. Moving on to Obi-Wan, it was a problematic series. It's great. The only version of that I think is actually the version to watch is the Patterson cut, where he cut it into like a 2.5-hour long movie.
Which, from my understanding, is so Disney paid him a lot of money. they're going to be releasing that at some point, and we will get that at some point.
And it's a great version. That is the version of Obi-Wan to watch. The Disney Plus version is too drug out. There's a lot of scenes that just don't need to be there. There's a lot of dialogue that don't need to be there.
Okay.
So you're seeing kind of that downward spiral, of my opinion, of a lot of the Disney Plus stuff. Ahsoka, anybody that knows me knows that I hold Ahsoka on Disney Plus pretty high, because Ahsoka is my favorite character, and the Andor. I'm one of the few people that did not like Andor.
I didn't either.
I did not like Andor, and most people praised that series.
So, before you get into Acolyte, let me just say this, because it's going to tie into everything that you've just said. The problem with Disney Plus is that they're taking the good shows and giving us 6 to 8 episodes, like a movie format almost, when it should be made into a series with more episodes.
Yeah.
And then they're taking shows like Andor, where you did have, I will give this credit in this regard, you have the fan grabs there, you've got the scenery, the imagery, everything looks great, there is a story there, but 12 fucking episodes
was drug out.
So
it was
bad.
So long. And now I say that because I love Rogue One. Love Rogue One. Andor, I did not love. Like you said, it's too drug out. To me, it didn't get good till the last 2 episodes. And
I disagree. I did like 5 and 6. The Andy Serkis story arc was great.
There was moments. It as a whole, I think for a whole episode, like I don't think the actual series got really, really good until the last 2 episodes.
I think that should have been. That one should have been 8 episodes.
Yeah, it should have been a lot shorter. And Ahsoka should have been a lot longer.
All right, we know the problems with all these shows. So, let's get into the Acolyte.
So, when I talk about Acolyte, the first 2 episodes, we don't know what the whole series is going to pan out to be. The first 2 episodes to me felt like, even though you can tell it's a Disney Plus show, the production's a little cheaper, some of the effects are a little cheaper, and that's been an issue with all of them across the board. However, initial reaction compared to all these previous ones outside of Ahsoka is this feels more like Phantom Menace and with a touch of Clone Wars. Has a type of feel is what I got. It feels like it could have came out of the prequel films. Even though it takes place 100 years before the prequels, it feels like it could have fit within that timeline of the prequels, to where even if you go to the sequel series, they feel disconnected from the original and the prequel series. This feels very connected for me, if that makes any sense at all.
It's strategic. It's from Disney. They're trying to tie it together, in my opinion. Some of the theories going around that I've already seen that would definitively tie it into Phantom Menace is that we will get some kind of version of Darth Plagueis, whether it be him or it be his master training him or something to that effect. Mm-hmm. Clearly, spoilers. We'll talk later.
Yeah, we'll get that after the initial.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my initial is, without telling you if I like it, love it, or where I'm at with it right now, it feels very connected to the original prequels.
Connected? Are you a fucking politician? He's playing that real safe, guys.
Yeah.
Real safe. All right. On to me?
On to you.
All right. Pun intended. This shit's forced. It felt forced, and I didn't like it. I didn't like that I felt forced. Not that I didn't like The Acolyte, because I did enjoy The Acolyte in certain aspects. So...
there's a lot of things that I disliked about these first 2 episodes. We'll definitely dive into that.
Okay, spoiler-free version. You're basically jumping into a world with all new characters. You literally have all the possibilities in the palm of your hand, and you're Disney. But Disney isn't looking this from the culture. They aren't looking this from the fan base. They're looking this from the checkbook. And I feel like a lot of this was cash grabs. I feel like a lot of it was forced. There's an element I'll talk about later that has been beaten to death in the Star Wars universe that I really am mad they implemented. There's a lot there. However, it's only the first 2 episodes. Now, from what I understand, there are numerous people and numerous media outlets, podcasts that received episodes 3 and 4. And from what I've heard, it doesn't get much better in those 2. But from the first 2, just because that's what we're going on, I'm really hoping that we get more out of 3 and 4. I'm hoping that we see the mysteries that they've put in place in part 1 and 2 unfold correctly. And I'm hoping the storytelling improves. I was concerned going into this about everyone freaking out online about the woke aspect and all the politics of it all. Let me just say this stance on Star Wars and politics and the woke aspect. If you are somebody who needs to have a woke element in a universe, a galaxy full of hundreds of thousands of different species, then you're missing the whole point to me. So yes, I'm cool with the female side of this. I'm cool with the male side of this. I don't care about that stuff. But as far as I've seen some people bashing or being happy that there's no white people in the cast and this and that, and it got really, really deep online. Some people are really taking this to heart. Yeah. So I didn't even care about that going into this. I was more mad at people for even bringing up the conversation. This is something that should just be Star Wars. Just enjoy it.
I'll be honest with you. I've not looked at any of the comments about anything, so I've not even seen people complaining about the wokeness. I've actually really tried to avoid anything that has pertained to the series as a whole. I've not even read articles. When I see them pop up for months, I've just ignored them. And I went in blindly and watched it, and I didn't notice that there was a diverse cast. I didn't even notice.
You essentially, we've got 2 white people, which is awesome. It doesn't matter. That's fine. But I did enjoy the diversity of the cast. But I mean, outside of a couple humans, it's all aliens.
Well, yeah.
So who cares?
Yeah, who cares? I mean, like I said, I didn't even notice that it was a really diverse cast because I just wasn't paying attention. I was just trying to absorb the Star Wars, and I didn't even notice. And nothing felt woke for me in the storytelling.
I hate using that word.
I hate the word too,
but it's what people have used. So
nothing felt forced in that aspect. I mean, and there's a lot of TV series and movies that do force that stuff, and it is very noticeable, and it kind of takes me out of the film or series. This I didn't notice it. You know, if there was, I was like, I didn't pick up on it. It just felt like they were just trying to push what story they had along.
So I can understand where people want to have that balance there to see it on the big screen. But what people don't know is that there's a whole expanded universe of Star Wars that went well before and well after the movies that you know. And I myself, because now they have made the expanded universe, for some of you who don't know, they made that into what's called Star Wars Legends. It's no longer canon to the movies or the current books they have in place.
Tell that to Dave Filoni.
Dave Filoni keeps definitely, and you know what? I like when he moves certain elements to his advantage. First of all, he should be in charge, not Kathleen Kennedy.
Yeah, Dave Filoni, all day long, that company should have been given to Dave Filoni at the very beginning. I understand why it wasn't. I understand on paper, Kathleen Kennedy should be the one running the company. If you look at her, the films and stuff that she's worked on since the 80s, on paper, it makes sense why she was selected. Why Lucas selected, because Lucas did hand select her.
Well,
but at the end of the day, Filoni has the knowledge, and knows where to take the story.
He does, and he understands the writing elements and how to make it appeal to your old fans and new fans. And so I love that. And I think that was done well. But in that expanded universe, you have Jaina and Jason. You've got Princess Leia, who, without being, she's technically a Jedi in the expanded universe, but without using those Force powers, she basically becomes the new Mon Mothma, in charge of the New Republic. But Jaina, her and Han Solo's daughter, becomes a sort of the Jedi. Just one example. Then you go back further. You go back to when there was a multitude of Sith in the universe in the books, and you go into the Darth Bane era, and Darth Bane's apprentice was Darth Zana. There are so many badass women in this world, and for those who don't know, or for a Kathleen Kennedy to come forward and say that it's time for Star Wars to be this, it's always been that. Stop making it something it's not. Just enjoy it.
I think most fans would be fine.
I do too.
If they would take some of that expanded universe, the legends now or whatever, and bring some of those characters back. That's what a lot of people are mad about, is they've read those books. They read those books for years, and now it's not even canon.
Tell me about it. I read almost this is no joke. There's 200 combined comics and not books and graphic novels that I read through, keeping the continuity of the story going. I started with Shadows of the Empire, which took place between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi.
That's amazing.
It is. It's excellent. Prince Iser in that. Great character. And then went forward. By the way, he was in Clone Wars. If you remember, that was awesome. That was a great throwback. But then you go forward and you go into the Zahn, or the Timothy Zahn era with Thrawn, and how it builds up, and it goes into the new Jedi Order, which is 23 books long. In that book series, I'm sorry if anyone intends to ever read it, but in that book series, you have the younger brother of Jaina and Jason, Han and Leia's kid, Anakin, he dies in that book series. Chewbacca dies in that book series. These things crushed me. I was so vested in these stories and these characters. So now those are gone. Now we're moving forward. We've got the canon. We've got the, I started reading The Light of the Jedi, for the High Republic era, which is where the Acolyte takes place. And now I'm into Fallen Star. I'm going to have to go back and start these over now because I want to see how they tie in correctly.
I started to pick those books up, and then I've heard a lot of people say they're slow. They're very slow, and so I haven't picked them up. I've been a little on the fence.
So the story, let me rewind here. If you are somebody who appreciates audiobooks, are you?
Yeah.
Okay, so one thing that Star Wars does better than any other media outlet is audiobooks. So if you feel like there's a slow part, even in the beginning, all the sound effects, all the Star Wars effects, the voice, the guy who's doing all the narrating, is just so fucking magical. It is ridiculous. It brings you back into it like you're experiencing a movie or a show. And when I was The Light of the Jedi too, the villains are called the Nihil, and the Nihil are essentially a space pirating horde of bad guys. They're kind of a warrior race, warrior caste. Weakness is killed and crushed. But these barbarians, if you will, are led by certain people that steal a technology, and they know how to basically do warp speed. I don't know, whatever you'd call it. I'm having a brain fart.
Light speed.
Light speed here. They basically they don't have rules to what they can do. They can jump at any point, at any moment, and it makes it impossible for the High Republic fleet to fight and combat that. I'm curious to see if, as we proceed and past these first two episodes, if we get the Nile. And there's a few other elements I'm looking forward to. I want to see it because Yoda's alive. Yoda's
that's
going.
where I was going to go. Was we have to see Yoda.
Well, Yoda's referenced in all these books, but he never comes in.
Yeah.
So that'll be interesting. Yeah. I always say Master Yoda, and never comes in. So it's interesting.
Yeah, that's what I'm waiting for in this series. Is even if it's at the final episode, I want to see Yoda. I want to see a younger Yoda.
Yeah, I'm all for it. As long as it doesn't look as bad as the Phantom Menace initial. Excuse me, that was a rough one for me.
I think they learned their lesson.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so. All that said, you've heard initial impressions. You've heard us kind of have our little vent sessions. I think it's safe to say now, we're talking about Star Wars: The Acolyte. So if you have not seen the first two episodes, this is where you want to press pause and come back after you've seen them. But we're going to start talking about some serious spoilers. So stop right now. This is your warning. Here we go.
Alrighty.
All right. Do you want to start or should I?
Well, let's talk about this opening scene.
Well, that's okay.
Let's talk about this opening scene with
May and Indara.
Andara, played by Carrie Ann Moss, who everybody would know from The Matrix.
And the director said she essentially wanted Trinity to be a Jedi in this, and that she was.
Is exactly what this scene was. It was Carrie Ann Moss playing Trinity from The Matrix as a Jedi in this whole opening scene.
So,
and I have mixed feelings on this fight scene. I loved and hated it.
Why?
I loved the shades of what we saw with Ezra, where she was using the force push and stuff to hold back punches and stuff of that nature. But everything else felt so much like The Matrix with her movements and motions. And I get The Matrix really set the bar with fights, a lot of fight scenes and how they did a lot of that stuff. However, I got bored with it, with the Matrix films. And then seeing it done within Star Wars, it was just like...
So I didn't. With this. This I felt was done well.
It was done well. It was done well. But on that flip side, that painful side of living through the Matrix movies and even the new Matrix movies and seeing all this stuff rehashed again and seeing it in Star Wars, I was put back a little. And I didn't hate it. Like you said, the fight scene is amazing. It really is amazing. It's just, it felt like if you put Neo in there, you would have been watching The Matrix.
I didn't dislike any of what you're talking about. I disliked it for another reason.
Okay.
Catering to the fandom has always been something where they've had to backpedal and try and come back from and build back up because they know they fuck up at certain moments. One of the biggest epic fuck ups in Star Wars for me was the underutilization and the quick death of Darth Maul. Mm-hmm. Granted, for those of you who don't know, he comes back initially in the comics, and then they put it into a cinematic masterpiece of Clone Wars, and then went further with that into Rebels. So Maul was awesome. Glad they brought him back. To build a trailer around Carrie Ann Moss is this, like, because she would have been an awesome Jedi carrying forward.
I know where you're going with this, and what's funny, we're going to fall on the opposite sides of this.
That's fine. But the fact that they killed her off so quick, yes, it had a magical element and makes her more valuable in that moment and made it more meaningful. But at the same time, I felt like we should not have had that happen in the first episode. I feel like you needed to build more of a relationship and give us a depth, and then maybe like 5th or 6th episode, red wedding us. Fucking do something brutal.
I get where you're going with, like, you could have did a red wedding style. However, the one thing that I loved about this fight scene was that they killed Carrie Ann Moss' character off within the first 10 minutes of the first episode. After you've geared all the trailers around her, thinking that she's going to be like the main character in this series, and she's killed off in the first 10 minutes, I was thinking, thank you.
You ready for my first of 3 theories I'm going to unveil on this?
Go for it.
She's not dead.
I don't know how, but I had that in the back of my mind too.
I swear I remember there's a sequence in one of the early first trailers that came out where there is a rock cliff formation in a circle almost. There's an opening in the middle and a fight sequence starts breaking out. And I swear she's in that. But I could be wrong. But I also feel like she just kind of like went thump and just fell over. Mm-hmm. So I don't know the name of the character, the Jedi Master. She's the green one that was at the temple. She kind of looked like Drax a little bit.
Yeah.
With her big ass head. Anyways, she's suspect to me. For either good or bad. I don't know what's going on with her yet, but she is essentially, there's a character, which we'll get into further, named Master Soul, and Master Soul basically reports to this woman. But I think either she's hiding, that Carrie Ann Moss's character, Indara, is still alive, or she's up to no good.
Could be.
She seems too demanding for a Jedi.
I thought the same thing when they killed her off. Now, granted, I say that I was happy they killed her character off in the first 10 minutes. But in the back of my mind is like, is she going to pop up in a handful of episodes later? And
do you remember the episodes in Clone Wars where Ahsoka thought Anakin was dead and they had to make her believe it?
Mm-hmm.
That's all I'm saying. That was the vibe I got. But that's also a fan who's hopeful to see her in a little bit more of Jedi scenes.
And I'm the fan that's hoping that was the end.
And I agree to a certain point, but man, it'd be good to have her come back and be a later death scene for real.
I think what made me happy about them killing her off in the first 10 minutes was because I thought she was going to be like the main character in this series.
I totally, Master Soul, I've had that vibe.
And when they killed her off in the first 10 minutes, I was just like, okay, I can get behind this because maybe this means we're going to get some younger, newer characters, and we're not going to focus on her since she's the bigger name in this series. And so that's why it kind of made me a little happy.
All right, so opening sequence, there's a couple things to dig into with this opening sequence too. And that is that May, who is the
main
antagonist, thank you. May is reluctant to kill, if you notice that. Mm-hmm. So there's innocent bystanders that she could have killed. She had a guy in a position where she could have snapped his neck, and she hesitates and doesn't do it.
She doesn't seem all bad. She just seems angry.
She seems conflicted.
And, yeah.
I love that word. I love like any kind of gray Jedi or somebody who's not quite Sith. It's one of the reasons I love Anakin and Darth Vader, the torn conflict so much. Mm-hmm. I love those characters, so there is something to be said there. And it bites May in the ass that she spares the bartender because of the kid. Mm-hmm. It doesn't bite May in the ass. It bites Osha.
Yeah.
Who will lead into the next scene.
Yeah, and you meet a character named Osha, and
she's a mechneck.
A mechneck, which is basically you see the droids that would always go on the outside of the ship and repair them. Instead of droids, they're having these people,
the mechnecks, and it's really interesting. I like that. So the timeline on this TV series for those of you listening that don't quite know the storyline or timeline, it's 100 years before the Phantom Menace. So there's an element almost that reminded me, and I hate to cross genres here. I'm sorry to anyone this will piss off, but there's an element that reminded me of a little bit of Star Trek here.
A little bit.
When they go out into the outer ship hull, she actually clips off and has her magnetic boots kick on. Mm-hmm. And that part kind of gave me a little Star Trek.
Like Data walking out. Yeah. So they show up. The Jedi end up showing up to the ship. And what ship is this? Which really is what put me into that fact that it felt like, hey, this could really tie into the original prequel trilogy.
Well, it was a Neimoidian ship, but
it was a Trade Federation. They actually say Trade Federation.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that was. I didn't even catch that.
Yeah, I think it was actually OSHA that actually said it was a Trade Federation ship.
So just also to keep everyone in the loop here, for those of you who watched, at this point we have met May, and then we see Osha. And at this point we don't know that they're different characters. We think it's the same character. When Indara and May are fighting in the opening sequence, she actually pulls her mask down, moves her hair to the side, sees a scar on her forehead, and goes, "You." And so you're led to believe that they have a past history. There's a connection and a purpose for what's going on. Fast forward to the second series on the ship where she's a mechneck. We think it's the same person. We find out it's not. But the way that it starts unfolding, you see a moment, and this was a big moment of contention that I've seen some people up in arms about, where in the vacuum of space we have a fire.
Yeah, I saw. That was the first thing I was thinking. I was like, fire don't burn in space.
So to that point, though, I mean, I was also like, I'm overthinking this, I know, but like, we don't know what's out there in the galaxy and the universe, and we don't know what elemental aspects are in different areas of this universe. So who knows? Maybe something could have happened.
I thought the same thing, and I laughed about it, but I was like, it didn't bother me because we had the Death Star blow up and fire in space. It's been a thing in Star Wars forever.
the moment here with the fire, though, is where she freezes. She has a flashback to her youth, her childhood, where a fire event happened of some sort. And she literally freezes. So it kind of it makes you think at that moment, because we don't know, they're two different characters, that this trauma, this whatever it is what's made her go dark. And that's why she's acting like this. And also, this is where they allude to her being a former Jedi. She has been removed from the Jedi Order, from being a Padawan for 6 years now at this point. So there's other aspects.
Yeah. And then the Jedi show up, they find her, and they start talking about, where was you at yesterday? And, then they have a witness. They bring the bartender in that may let live.
That's her.
That's her. Because it's a twin sister. They look.
And this brings in my biggest complaint. All right. For those of you keeping track now, this is our fourth set of twins in the Star Wars universe. I can't deal with any more fucking twins.
As soon as he walked in, it said, "That's her," and it was showing her, and I was just like, "It's a twin. It's a twin. It's another freaking twin."
So we got Luke and Leia. We got Han and Leia's kid, Jaina and Jason, in the expanded universe or Legends. And then you've got, there's twin sons that are in the Old Republic era, that one is dark side, one is light side, and they have to basically fight it out. And it goes from there. And so now we've got almost that same aspect implemented here with dark side, light side, or at least leaning that way. But these twins don't know each other's alive.
Oh.
They both think one another is dead, and they're acting and going forward. And I think part of May's purpose for her quest
is because of
is revenge of her sister and her mother and father.
Yeah.
Sorry, mothers.
Mothers.
There's mothers,
yeah.
And then sister. Now, all that said, we've got a whole bunch of events unfolding where you see what May's path is. And May is obsessed with killing 4 Jedi. Indara was the first one. There's another one in episode 2 named Torben, Master Soul, who's in both episodes, and then there's Master Kalnaka.
Which is a Wookiee monster.
Which is a badass looking Wookiee, and I'm really excited to see where that goes. That could be really cool. What's the Wookiee's name in Clone Wars? The youngling?
I cannot remember.
He was
his name.
He was a cool little character too. But anyways, her quest is, and we don't find this out till the end of the episode in 2, so I'm getting ahead of myself, but I'll say it anyways because it gives more context to what we're explaining. Her quest is that she's been assigned, and keep in mind she's an acolyte. She's not an apprentice, so she's been quested with killing these 4 Jedi that have brought this trauma into her life without use of a lightsaber. She has to try and kill them.
Well, it doesn't say lightsaber. It says without the use of a weapon, is what they say.
Well, then they already fucked all that up.
That's the thing. She hasn't done it yet. She has to be able to kill one of these Jedi without a weapon. And what I'm gathering is she has to do this in order for this Sith Lord to train her. I think this is a quest that he's put out.
Yeah, that's the purpose to give. Yeah.
That was what I was gathering. But there's also this element where she keeps trying to steal the lightsabers of all the Jedi that she's fighting. And even after she killed
Indara,
the lightsaber fell, she didn't take it. I think I think one of the tasks is that she needs to steal the lightsaber while it's still on them.
So that's interesting to see it from that set. So me personally, I think that the temptation of using the lightsaber is easy for her, and that's why she keeps going towards the lightsaber. But I just took it as she wasn't allowed to use basically a saber to kill them. I thought she had to use.
It says no. It says weapons, because when she goes to mix the poison, he was like, "Well, this isn't the way you're supposed to do this, and you already used weapons on the I can't remember his name, but he was one.
Kimir. It's Qimir.
And I was a bit confused on his character, on who he actually is, or what he's, other than he is working with them in some form.
All right.
Did you pick up? Because I was a little confused by his character.
So he seems to be assisting her.
Well, yeah, definitely.
So, but that's not where I took it. I went in a little deeper with this. There is in the last 10 minutes of or actually we'll go last 20 minutes of the second episode. The Jedi are looking for May. They've discovered what's going on. They've discovered that there's two different twins, and that May is basically using the Force as well and using the dark side of the Force, and they're trying to find her. They narrow her location down to an apothecary, is what they called him, and it's where she actually had the guy make the poison to kill the second Jedi. But after this all happens and the Jedi come looking for her, this Kimir guy, played by Manny Jacinetto, he essentially, there's no second thought about it. He just completely throws her under the bus, full details, no questions asked. So to me, right away, red flag. Now, when she comes back after she gets away, because she evaded them and she got away, she comes back, she finds him, she instantly says, "You betrayed me," and lunges at him with a knife. He instantly defended and pinned her against the wall. So he's not just a guy making poisons.
Well, and that's why I was like, I'm confused by him. I don't know what...
I think he's the guy behind the helmet.
You think he's the guy behind the helmet?
I do. He's one of two that I have, and I think he might be one of them. And he's playing in the shadows. Because one of the things they also said in this was, I forgot who it was, but you will never beat a Jedi in combat or something like that. Basically alluding to you have to be strategic. Which also kind of gave me Palpatine vibes.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that makes... I can see where you're going with that. Because, I was confused the whole time.
I was confused until I saw him just, without any kind of effort, pin her against the wall like she was nothing. And she's been a badass going after Jedi all along. Now, I want to rewind. We talked about the poison he made for the second Jedi.
Yeah.
So the second Jedi is really interesting. He's gone into a meditative trance, and he essentially has a force barrier all around him. She cannot get into him no matter what she does. She is trying to kill him over and over. She actually went back a second time, and the second time she went back with a poison. She starts talking to him about the past events that happened on their home planet. Do you remember the home planet's name?
I can't remember the home planet's name right now.
Yeah, I'm having an issue with it too. I forgot it. But anyways, there's something going on that these four Jedi, Indara, Kalnaka, Torben, and Sol all know. And essentially, there's something shady that happened on that planet. And you can totally get the vibe on it. You can totally tell that something that shouldn't have happened, and the Jedi might have let it.
Yeah.
Which would be another reason for May to be, finding them and trying to do these things. So she, through guilt, convinces Torben, who, by the way, the worst makeup I've seen out of any Star Wars.
This goes back to some of the special effects.
Oh my God, was it painful. But once I got past that, I was like, man, this fucker deserves to die. No, I'm just kidding. No, but she convinces him through just her words and the vial poison to drink it himself. He comes out of this meditative trance, and he thinks that'll absolve him of his sins, and he drinks it and kills himself, essentially.
Yeah. She gave him the option to go to the Jedi Order and tell him what he did, or to drink the poison, and he woke up from his meditation
and doesn't sound too Jedi.
No.
So
the only one that does seem innocent in the way he talks about what had happened is Saul. To an extent.
Because he won't give any information.
But he also says, I tried to save you. I tried to save you, all of you.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot going on there. So my hope is that we got these first two episodes. These first two episodes are building up for what could be an amazing, hopefully 2, maybe 3 seasons. I don't know. But I'm hoping that this is one of those instances where it starts off weak and gets only better. If it's not that, then it's gonna get real bad real fast.
Yeah. Backpedal a little bit, because we're kind of jumping between episode 1 and 2 a lot.
Sorry, it's easy. There's a lot of information came out yesterday, so it was all at once trying to digest this. And
no, and I'm doing the same. So it's all good. another issue that I had, and I'm hoping it gets resolved. I get that Osha wasn't a trained Jedi Knight or anything, but she obviously was a Padawan, so she has some understanding of the Force. But after the Jedi pick her up and put her on the prison transport,
the robot with the Force portion.
Yeah, she has like really no Jedi powers, like no Force push, no Force pull, no. I mean, the only thing we've actually seen her do that has any Jedi elements is premonition, or not really premonition, but visions. You know,
telekinesis.
Yeah,
or not telekinesis,
but visions and of whatnot, with like visions of her sister and seeing things of that nature. But we've not seen her actually have any Force powers, anything that would actually make her a character that would be any kind of resistance to her twin sister, you know.
So I'm going to dig on this a little bit because this is one of the biggest faults in Star Wars for me. You've got, everyone has their complaints about whatever era of Star Wars is yours, and we all will. It'll happen inevitably. Daisy Ridley's character, Rey, when she all of a sudden starts using her Force powers, and she goes from level 0 to expert within a matter of 2 scenes, I about lost my mind with that one. That one was a hard pill to swallow. I was reminded of that, sadly, in Ahsoka when Sabine got her powers out of nowhere, just starts kicking in, and hey, I can get them all the way over to Thrawn's ship. There's this whole push, but I really don't want to see that happen.
I think it worked better with Sabine than it did Rey, though.
It killed the moment for me completely.
It didn't kill it for me. I think, not to dive too much into another series, I think that she had that power, she just didn't know it, and Ahsoka knew it, and she finally understood it in that moment.
I still think it would have taken a little more. a little more
but
practice.
She had been training for years at that point. So unlike excuse me, unlike Rey that had no training, nobody training her, all of a sudden, I know how to do this shit.
Well, it wasn't years either at that point.
With Sabine?
Sabine had been out of the game. Her and Ahsoka, they're falling out.
But she had been training for her for years, and she had been still somewhat keeping up with some of her training.
So how long was Ezra away? How long are Thrawn and Ezra away, according to the storyline?
I had to go back to the timeline, but I want to say it was like 7 years.
Yeah, so I mean, like, in the grand scheme of things,
7 years is still a lot longer than 10 minutes that Rey had.
I agree, but to me though, with Force though, it's like, I don't know. I feel like they want something. They don't want to take the time to hammer it out, and they want to just rush it to get there. And that's the way it felt in both instances.
But
I like where you're going with the seer aspect, though. If they can push her that angle,
yeah,
and her be different from that, I would be happy.
Well, and I get kind of what you're saying. You know, you're kind of appreciating that this girl is a former Jedi Padawan, but she's not showing anything like she has all this great power off the bat.
I'm sure it'll happen, but
yeah, my thing is, well, she's been a Padawan. She's had to have had some understanding of these powers in the past. So why can she still not do them now? Even if they're not powerful, even if it's just, I can only move this cup, or or something, but she has nothing.
I can tell you why. So, if you remember when they were giving the breakdown, they said that the incident, the fire, they keep referring to as the fire, that it happened when she was 8, and she was admitted into the Jedi Order when she was 8, and they felt she was too old, and she was coming in with trauma. So if she... I don't know how old she is in this timeline, but my guess is that she maybe, if she went in at 8, and
they actually said how many years it had been, and I can't remember what it was.
Yeah, I can't either. But if she hadn't been practicing for 6 years, you figure she's got about as much time as Sabine. So she's got probably, I'm guessing, 7 to 8 years tops, maybe. Would be my guess.
I mean, that's fair. That's a fair assessment.
So,
and then, I mean, it took a traumatic event for Sabine to get hers after that many years. So
So
we can agree on that part.
we can. I still, like I said, I would like to see and that to that point though. They did the same thing with Luke, if we're being honest. Luke was
was just like Rey. I never understood the timeline with him, that he went from nothing to this little boy on a desert planet that didn't even know anything about the Jedi to all of a sudden he's the greatest Jedi of all time. And I've always argued that Luke is not the greatest Jedi of all time. The greatest Jedi of all time is Anakin. Even though he turned to the dark side, but
there's another one that did that better.
Who are we going with?
Revan. All day.
Yeah.
One of my favorite story arcs, him and Darth Bane, if I'm being honest. Those two, there's something magical about those two. I do like the Mandalorian element for Darth Revan. And I'm really hoping, because on IMDb, we were just talking about the cast, what's listed on there for the first 2 episodes, and they haven't put everyone in there. And not everyone has a name to their character, just that they're there. One of the rumors that kept going around was Keanu Reeves. And Keanu Reeves, I think, based on the male portrayal of Revan, would be spectacular as Revan.
Oh, absolutely.
But the only way you can implement Revan into this series would be holocrons and things like that.
Yeah.
So if they do that, I'd be really happy. But also furthering back, Star Wars, man, Star Wars. I can shoot off in a million different worlds with this. One of my other questions is, what do you feel about the Acolyte and this Dark Lord? Do you feel that there is something happening following the Rule of Two? Do you feel like she's an acolyte because he's only an apprentice with the Lord? What do you feel is happening there? Or do you feel there's a multitude of Sith?
I don't know if we're going to see a multitude of Sith. I hope. Like back in I guess it was the Old Republic, where they actually were, like the whole planet of Sith.
Yeah.
That would be, and was that Bane that killed him?
Bane killed him.
It was Bane
He's the one who implemented the Rule too.
Yeah. And I would love to see a huge Sith planet, but I don't think that's going to be the case. I don't think that that's an apprentice. I think it's a Sith Lord, and I think he's trying to find his apprentice.
I think that you have a Vader scenario here. I think that there is somebody that's pulling his strings, and I think that he is just trying to build the confidence in this subordinate, if you will. Much like Vader did numerous efforts in different video games, different things we've seen. You got you got Starkiller. You've got who else? He had a couple more.
There's
Mara Jade for the Emperor, just the hand of the Emperor. Force sensitives that are essentially assisting.
Well, basically, and even you got the Inquisitors. When you get into that, and Ventress, and and a lot of these different characters.
I do really want to see more out of Ventress at some point. They got to do that. She's developing so nicely that they got to bring her back in. But the thing that kind of sits as a question in the back of my mind is, you've got planets like Korriban. You've got there's whatever the planet is that the Night Sisters are from, Dathomir. So you've got these planets.
Or Dathomir.
Right. And you've got these planets, and they are dark side heavy. They definitely can have, there's Force sensitives all over. So there could be, and even there was in the Star Wars expanding universe, it was what was the Sith grouping that came out of nowhere? There was a series basically deep in space, there was a whole planet of other Sith, and they came back into and basically wreaked havoc in the Skywalker era.
Yeah.
So I would like to see something maybe along those lines. I would like to see a lot of Sith. One of the coolest things you'll ever see, if anyone's listening that has not seen this yet, the video game called The Old Republic. The antagonist in that is Darth Malgus. The books that go hand in hand with that are spectacular.
And you can actually get the those on Switch now.
Right.
The Old Republic and Old Republic 2. I actually picked those up not long ago on Switch.
Well, just the cinematics, if you type in Old Republic cinematic on YouTube, and you can watch what they put together for the cinematics for that video game, you see a better told Star Wars story than most of what Disney has put out in 15 minutes. The Sith literally crash a ship through a Jedi Temple entrance and invade the Jedi Temple, and there's red lightsabers and blue, green, and amber lightsabers everywhere, and everyone's fighting, and people are dying, and it's so magical in that moment. Which takes me to my other rant. I've got a lot of them today. I'm sorry, JP. Just cut me off.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
Anyways, I think the reason I'm disappointed in episodes 1 and 2 isn't because of the storytelling. It isn't because it is to a certain extent, but it's not because of cinematography. It's not because of the fight sequences, which it was weird. Kung Fu came out of nowhere. But it is, to me, I was really hoping for a Sith-centric story arc. And we haven't,
we've not got, and that's where I'm at with it. Like, I think this is my take so far. To piggyback off what you're saying, because I agree. I think we have, so far I have not seen a really good protagonist yet. I haven't seen anything in
Master Soul?
Well, hang on. Except for Master Soul, but I don't know how long we're going to have Master Soul.
Squid Game Soul?
But I don't see a good protagonist with Osha.
No, I agree.
I don't see a good protagonist with Osha. I do see potential for a good antagonist with May. There's a potential. I don't see it there yet, but there is a potential for a good antagonist within her.
Dude, what if she just straight up kills Hatchet Mouth and just fuck all him? Like Snokes him.
Well, and that would be amazing. All of a sudden, she just turns completely dark and overnight, just kind of like Anakin. Anakin, even though now Anakin was a little different. He was a powerful Jedi, but then when he gave in to the dark side, it was instant.
Yep.
But I think there is potential for the character of May. But on that saying that same thing, I am disappointed like you that we saw virtually nothing of the Sith in these first 2 episodes.
You ready?
Go for it.
I'm going to keep saying that to him. All right. I need you to close your eyes and visualize with me, okay? We're talking sequel to Solo. I know it's a big one here. Everyone's got their problems with it.
I wanted to see a sequel to it because of, we know why.
Well, yeah. So my thoughts were this. I wanted, and this could have even been the opening sequence for Solo itself. I want Billy D. Williams walking into a cantina, and he's walking all the way towards the back, and there's games of Sabacc being played, and Han's sitting there. He's like, "Look at you, you scoundrel!" And there's some kind of conversation that ensues, and they start drinking, and then they start telling stories. That's not the way it went. This is the way it went, and they flash back. Now you've got the old guys out of the picture. You gave us all our little kicks. We're feeling good about that moment. And then I feel like you should tell Solo 2 from the point of view of Darth Maul. I want to see the Darth Maul Syndicate story unfold, and it's him hunting down Solo from the other side. So you get more Darth Maul. Now, to that point, this story is what I wanted, since I'm not ever going to get that. I wanted this story to be dark as fuck. Listen, Disney, excuse my language with the F-bomb, because I know that's not your thing, but I'm going to tell you this. If you want to see a Star Wars series blow up like you've never seen any Star Wars series before blow up, you either need to write a script for Death Troopers, or you need to get real dark real fast with our Jedi and our Sith.
I mean, basically take what you did at the end of Rogue One with Darth Vader, and instead of that being a 1.5-minute scene, make it a 2-hour film. And make it just like that.
I mean, you're not wrong. And look, to the flip of that, the end of season 2 with Mandalorian with Luke.
With Luke, yeah.
Oh my God! Like, there it is again.
Yeah,
See the arm hair standing up? The arm hair just went up. There's certain moments, man. Those scenes get me every time.
Yeah, the Luke scene in Mandalorian was fucking amazing. It was just as good as the Vader scene in Rogue One.
For sure, without a doubt. And I loved it. I loved every minute of it. You know what I did see recently? I hadn't seen it yet. I'd only heard about it. It is the Rogue One. It's the cut of Rogue One playing through into the beginning of A New Hope, and the way it flows seamlessly. Mm-hmm. Oh my God, it was like a work of art. It was great.
Yeah, I have seen that.
So I digress.
Yeah, but I'm on the same page. Like I wanted this to be a lot darker. Well,
I feel
Let me rephrase this. I wanted to see the Sith, and I wanted them to be dark and vicious as possible, but I wanted the Jedi to be as bright and beautiful as they could be, because that's how I imagine the High Republic era.
And I feel like they went for that. Yeah. I feel like the moments we had with the Jedi, like what's her name, Jackie Lan, who was played by Daphne Keane. Daphne Keane, if you guys don't remember, if you saw Logan, she plays X-23 or Logan's daughter, and she's pretty badass. And her Jedi character, her alien species, is simply beautiful. The one that I'm not a big fan of, what's her name? We're just going to call her Drax, Jedi Drax, because she's got the big ugly green head. She also, even though I say that, like the color schemes, the patterns, the robes, the garments, they're so much more pristine. They're not dirtied and war-bound.
It's not all brown and yellow is white.
I mean, look at Carrie Ann Moss's character, Indara. Her chest plate, the way that the cream or the white braids into each other, like those things were great. Those were good.
Yeah, and their outfits looked pristine. They looked like they were well kept. They look like they've not been in war,
right? Yeah,
because they haven't.
Yep. Now, here's what I'm hoping out of the series. You know, we told you this is part 1. Part 2, hopefully it gets a lot darker like we're hoping, but I'm hoping, for me, to your point, you said this reminded you a little bit of Phantom Menace, right? So to me...
Well, it did not even that it reminded me of Phantom Menace. It felt like it could be... It feels like a prequel 100 years before Phantom Menace. You know, it feels pretty natural that it would move into that.
I feel like with 100 years left, though... And we're talking about coming to the end of the Jedi Order. We know where it goes in Phantom Menace and forward from there. But there's a darkness that looms during the end of this High Republic era. And this is the last 400, or the last of the 400 years of this era. So I feel like we're going to get the darkness. We're going to get there. I just don't know how many seasons they're going to put us through with that. Or if this will even shine enough to go past one season.
Yeah.
I hope it will.
I hope it does. I mean, I hope it ends up being the best of the best.
I'm always hoping for that in any Star Wars. And don't get me wrong, I could sit here and bitch about details all day long, but any Star Wars content is good Star Wars content to me. I'm happy to have it. I might have my gripes and my qualms, but
yeah, even I'm not one of these fans that says they're a fan but bitches about every one of them. I will say this is my least favorite. This is I wasn't impressed with, kind of like I was saying about some of the Disney Plus stuff earlier. Even me saying Andor, I was not a big fan of Andor, still didn't mean I didn't like the series. I enjoyed the series.
I did too.
You know, but it's definitely my least favorite of the Disney Plus stuff.
That's so weird. You're one of the only people that agrees with me on that.
Yeah, everybody I've talked to is like, "Oh, it's the best thing."
They rave about it.
Yeah, and I never got it.
Painful.
Now I think it looks great. I think the dirty and grittiness of it is fantastic.
So, the Sith assassin armor, which is best known for Starkiller when he's a Sith, it almost looks like a Mandalorian helmet. One of my favorite aspects about Andor was that when they were in the antique shop in the background, they had that armor in there. There was the throwbacks from Mon Mothma, her story, her family, the way that's going up, the political side of things from her. There were so many elements that were great, genuinely.
Oh, yeah.
But so I do like it, but it is the least of my favorites as well.
It could have been shortened.
For sure.
It was drug out.
For sure. At least four, maybe 6 episodes even.
Yeah. But now Ahsoka, I could have watched another 4 or 5 episodes.
I agree again. Yeah,
Yeah.
but that's hard for somebody who didn't watch Rebels to say.
Yeah.
If you haven't, like, I keep telling all adults that I meet this, that enjoy sci-fi or enjoy Star Wars, even the movies, please don't discredit watching the animated Star Wars films, because they have so much to offer. And what starts out bubbly on both sides and starts off like they're trying to be innocent and show you this different side, and it's supposed to be, pitched to kids, turns dark and wonderful in a good way.
Well, I mean, I can think of 2 times in Star Wars history that I have gotten tears in my eyes.
What are yours? I'm curious, because I got a couple myself.
The two main moments that I have cried of anything Star Wars is, first off, I'll give you the live action one first. The first one is believe it or not, at the very end of The Force Awakens, when Rey puts the lightsaber out to hand to Luke Skywalker.
That did it for you?
Because that was like 30 years later, here's Luke looking at his lightsaber, and it was like, oh, it's been 30 years. But then, but then the next movie, that stupid asshole director ruined that scene with throwing the lightsaber away. So, yeah, we don't want to talk about that one anymore.
I'm going to talk about that one. You know why? Because that might be different reasons, but might be my favorite Star Wars movie.
Which one?
Force. No, why am I having a brain fart? Last Jedi. I'll tell you why. It's not what you think. It's not what you think. I promise it's not what you think. The movie itself, yes, fine. It's awful. It's got so many weak plot holes, and its story is so bad.
It's bad.
But I got to go to the fucking world premiere in Hollywood, walk the red carpet, and watch that movie with the entire cast. And I don't think that anything in my life will ever, Star Wars world will ever equate to that.
I can get that.
I got to walk over to Frank Oz and shake his hand and tell him thank you.
I can get that. I can get that.
Oh, and I was the one idiot too who yelled out loud when anyways, I won't.
Yeah. Okay, so my other one is in Star Wars Rebels.
Okay, I know where you're going.
Kanan's sacrifice.
That's there.
And yeah, like a little baby, I was sitting in my living room going, "Oh my God, oh not Kanan, oh God," So anybody that doesn't watch, if you're a Star Wars fan and you do not watch Rebels and you do not watch Clone Wars, you are doing a fucking injustice as a fan. Because to me, I love Clone Wars, but Rebels is my favorite Star Wars storyline since the original trilogy.
That's fair. Empire Strikes Back is my favorite, like, straight up story, everything. Favorite movie of all time, I'll be honest.
Well, Empire's still my favorite, but yeah, I mean,
but that ending, that whole ending for me, I've got three cry moments. That whole ending up till when Luke yells, "No, that's impossible!" All that bullshit. I actually had tears in my eyes, but of happiness, because it was so fucking good. Just when they open the door and the laser bolt goes and Darth Vader puts his hand up and it's fucking dead, and I got chilled. Like, it was a happiness, you know. Second one, Kanan as well. I'll give him that.
That's an amazing scene.
That's an amazing scene, especially when his eyes turn back over.
And I'll be honest with you, there's actually multiple ones in Rebels. I would actually go as far as to say that there's the third one is for me in Rebels I probably cried at was the Ahsoka Vader, which I have that tattooed on me, is what that is. The Ahsoka Vader fight.
Well, the last one, which is why I looked at you so weird when you were complaining about Kenobi. I think that, and your tattoo, though, it's from that fight.
Well, no, this one's from the Ahsoka, because the Ahsoka fight was this side of the face, and then the Obi-Wan fight was this side.
But that whole moment, that one
was powerful too.
You didn't kill Anakin.
Yeah.
I did. Like, I was like, holy fucking shit. And like the power behind it. Like, there was literally years of Hayden Christensen wanting to redeem himself in emotion that seemed so real in that moment that I don't care what anyone says or who bitches about that series. That specific scene made the whole series,
me,
without a doubt.
And the same with Ahsoka with The same in Ahsoka where he comes back. I didn't tear up, but I was close. I was holding back, the whole little fight scene of him training Ahsoka in the World Between Worlds.
I'm going to start going back through these High Republic books. I'm going to give Ahsoka, Kenobi. I want to give all these rewatches. I feel like they're in my near future because I'm just feeling that kind of way.
I've actually rewatched Ahsoka in the past month.
Nice.
So
very, very good.
Okay. Let's get back to
Acolyte.
But
I think that we've covered what we can cover.
We've covered the bulk of it.
Long and short, you're in the High Republic era. You're 100 years before Phantom Menace. You have numerous Jedi. You've got an antagonist and a protagonist that are twins, with Osha being the protagonist, May being the antagonist, potential, we're saying. You have different Jedi who are trying to assist and figure out what's going on, with the main one as being Master Soul.
Which Soul is actually badass.
He's badass. If we want to talk about him for a second, to me, he is essentially a Qui-Gon Jinn character. Cause,
a more talented Qui-Gon.
Yeah, but he also, if you're comparing apples to oranges, though, I feel like all they had to do in that era was train because there wasn't war. So, but in that fight sequence, we didn't talk about that fight sequence.
Yeah, the fight sequence with Saul.
That was fucking cool.
That one was cool.
So when May and Soul have a fight sequence, there is definitely some power plays happening, and Soul lets her know, you're not in charge of this fight, I am.
Yeah.
And he's real fucking, like
she keeps reaching for his lightsaber, and he pushes her off, and then she goes to reach for her knives, and
they're all gone.
They're all gone because he's taking them. He pulls them up and just throws them on the ground.
In pieces. He breaks them in pieces. The Master Soul, for me, I have always been a sucker for a gray Jedi.
Yeah.
Any gray Jedi, I like conflicted characters all day long, every day, and he's the one who's he's not caring about what Venestra, that's Drax, he's not caring about, he's not caring about Venestra's.
We got to start making names up for most of these characters.
Yeah, for sure. Oh my God, what's his name? Torben, that horrible makeup job. You know what he reminded me of?
Dr. Loomis.
Okay, there's that, but I was thinking more Starship Troopers with freaking what's his name?
Michael Ironside.
No. Doogie Howser.
Oh yeah,
Doogie Howser, and he starts getting his eyes all black underneath it, and he's like frazzled. He looks like a mad scientist kind of.
I was thinking Dr. Loomis because you remember in Halloween 4 the horrible burn latex that they put on his face.
I do remember that.
It looked like it came from just a Walmart Halloween kit. And
you said Doc, and now I'm thinking more Doc Brown. That's Torben was awful. Anyways, I'm sorry guys. We have an amazing story unfolding potentially. Where they take it from here, episodes 3 and 4, who knows? It could be amazing, it could be bad. There's lots of questions still going there. I'm hoping it gets better.
I'm hoping I didn't dislike it.
I didn't dislike it so far. Yeah. I'm gonna ride this out.
Yeah.
First 2 episodes are better than the first 2 episodes of Andor. Sorry.
Absolutely, 100%. And honestly, the first 2 episodes of this is we've griped a lot about it, but I think the first 2 episodes of this is better than the first 2 episodes of Mandalorian. It's better than the first 2 episodes of Andor. It is, to me, honest.
We'll rewind. You think it's better than the first 2 episodes of Mandalorian?
I do.
Oh, I don't.
I do.
I disagree with that one.
I don't think. I think for me, the only stuff that I've really, really, really loved in the Mandalorian has been the stuff with Bo-Katan and a lot more of that stuff.
Honestly, if you would never brought Bo-Katan or the other Mandalorians into it, if you would have just had him doing bounties on every planet, I would have been great with that. I think that would have been some of the most amazing Star Wars ever written.
I think if you did away with Grogu and brought the Mandalorians in with Bo-Katan and stuff, it would have just been even better.
But they're going
to keep Grogu in because he sells toys.
He sells toys, and he also appeals to a different generation, and brought the ladies in because of the cuteness.
Yeah. But I think it's better. I think these first 2 episodes for me are better than Mandalorian. They're better than Andor.
Okay.
They're definitely not better than the first 2 episodes of Ahsoka. for me. So yeah, that's kind of where I sit with it.
One question, not Acolyte based. Sorry, because there's so much we could talk about Star Wars. How do you feel they're going to take Balin's character now that Ray Stevenson's gone? How do you think?
I think Filoni will recast him. There's too much of a story there to.
I agree.
To leave it just the way it is and not tell it. I think Filoni will recast him. Unfortunately, but because he knocked that role out of the park. And
what was the guy's name that I wanted to play him? It was
the guy that played played Sabretooth.
Yeah.
What's his name?
Lynn or
Liv
something.
Yeah.
Schreiber.
Liv
Schreiber.
Yeah, played in Scream. He played.
That's right. I forgot he was
played
in that.
Phantoms.
But with him with the gray beard, though.
Yeah, no, he'd be great.
Right on point. And that's not to disrespect the memory of Ray Stevenson. Ray Stevenson was an amazing actor, and he brought so much. I loved his character Blackbeard in Black Sails. I loved what he did with the Cleveland story of. I'm having a brain fart. The Cleveland story with the Irishman. It was the green something. Anyways, he was the Irishman, and he was fucking amazing there too.
I'm not sure on that one. I do know he killed it as Balin, and it's going to be a hard recast.
I think that Liv dude could do justice to it, though.
I think he could.
Well, that aside, because we keep getting distracted. I'm sorry. I can talk on and on about Star Wars. Do you want to rate this per episode or together?
You know what? Let's rate it together.
Really? Because we're going to be breaking these out. We got 4 more episodes of this. You want to do all together, or because there could be an episode that's baller.
Okay. Yeah, you're right. Let's do it by episode. I hadn't thought about it by episode, but
I hadn't either. I just thought about it, and so that's why I was.
Let me retract back
to the
film.
Give me 1 sec here.
It's like, oh God, I got to think about this. Because I had an idea for them together.
Okay, what was your overall? And then you can break it out.
I think overall, I'm going to say the first 2 episodes is out of 5. We always do a out of 5 on CineNerds.
Yep.
I was going to go about a 3.3.
God damn, dude.
What? 3.3.
3.2. So
I actually can sit with your numbers. I'm sitting here thinking I liked episode 2 better than 1. You put
I gave a 0.1 more.
Yeah.
Episode 2.
That I agree 100% with your numbers, I believe. I think me and you were standing on the same numbers.
So, as a whole, I was around 3.3 myself, but it broke up. I gave episode 1 a 3.2, and then episode 2 a 3.3, CineNerds.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's funny that we were there.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. That's about where I was sitting in my head, and I was thinking as a whole, I was around a 3.3, 3.4 combined, but was where I was ballpark I was thinking.
Yeah,
but
I'm not sold on it yet, but I'm not put off by it, so I went above average. There's a lot to still explore and a lot unanswered. How they wrap those things up, how we proceed forward. There's a lot to work with here still. So
now, I mean, 4 more episodes down the road, these scores may be really high,
or they might be going drastically lower.
They might be going drastically low. So. Yeah, we'll have to wait and see where this lands. So, I mean, I'm excited though. I'm still excited. I'm not put off.
Yep, I'm not either. Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
Good shit. Okay, well, remember, this is part 1. We'll have part 2, which will cover episodes 3, 4, 5, and 6.
Sounds right.
And we're shooting for early July with that. We'll just say that.
Yeah.
And then we'll wrap it up. July 17th is the last episode, and we'll do a part. That concludes the series, and we'll wrap it up with a part 3 after that.
Yeah. As soon as I get back, we'll record the part 3, and I'm thinking that it'll fall under a August 1st release.
Okay.
Unless we get it recorded, and I would release it before our normal Thursday. You know, we may play with these. We'll see where we land on recordings and episodes with everything. But yeah, that's tentatively those are. That's what I'm going to promote it as, and if we got to adjust it, then obviously I'll update the flyer and we'll make posts. But yeah, this is kind of what we're looking at.
Sweet. Well, 3cinenerds@gmail.com is our email that you guys can reach out to, give us suggestions or any kind of commentary you'd like. You also can find any of your audio listening pleasures in our biography on our Facebook page, as well as our link to our merch page where you can order your very own 3cinenerds merch. And I'm going to piggyback off that with what you usually cover, and I'm just going to say I'm also on the leave a review, like, share, and follow bandwagon, because people, we're right there. We're doing great, and it's all because of you guys. But start sharing those podcasts. Start sharing our episodes. Spread the word. Leave that review. Help us out.
Absolutely, and yeah, write a review. I'm at the point now, we might need to try to put together a street team, because we do have some really hardcore listeners that maybe we can band together and start getting this stuff really shared.
And start doing jaywalking with them. So,
I mean, that's what street teams do.
Yeah, well, that's you know what I'm talking about. So we're going. All right, guys. Until next time, I'm Ryan.
JP.
We're out.
Later.